Namaste. Welcome to Advaita Vedanta Satsang room. We are continuing our Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter. And today is the 8th class of the 5th chapter. Let me do my invocation. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purana Namalayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashagritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murtibeda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The Gita Dhyana Shlokam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvandi Divyai Stavai Vedai Sangapadakramo Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyadam Navidussura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Om. Last class we saw that Yuktaha and Ayuktaha, the karma yogins who are karma yuktaha, for them the karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti. They do not accept or they do not have any attachment toward the karma phala. Therefore they sukham apnoti. They are eternally happy. The ayuktaha, those who are not into karma yoga, kama karena, because of the desire, they get phale saktaha. They get attached to the root of action. And that becomes an unending cycle of bondage and rebirth and bondage and rebirth. Now, next verse is a very important verse, not only in the Bhagavad Gita, but as a literature. There is an example of the 9-gated city, Navadware Pure. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya aste sukham vashi Navadwara Pure Dehi na eva kurvanna karayan. In the previous verse, we said Yuktaha Sukham Vashi is of Sukham Apnoti, is attaining the eternal Sukham or happiness. Now, the question can come, he is attaining Sukham as a Karma Yogi. Is there Apnoti, the word, is showing pervasiveness. He pervades Sukham. So the picture is not very clear because all of us know that even if we mentally and intellectually understand Atman or Brahman or the self or the consciousness, the physical body is not getting affected by this knowledge. The physical body is still subjected to the torments of Sita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha, all those things which are mentioned in the Sthita Prajna's explanation are the dualities of the world. So then why is the word Sukham Apnoti? Apnoti means pervades. So the happiness which the Karma Yogi achieves at the end of that practice, when that jnana comes, how does it pervade so that I don't have any sorrow or any torment in my life? This question can come to any one of us. Therefore, Krishna says this, Sarva Karmani Manasa Sanyastha. Sarva Karmani, all actions. Now, when he mentions Sarva Karmani, the word Sarva is not indicating that all karmas. The Sarva has got Karmani as or the actions with a special adjective. We will see that what is it. Manasa Sanyasya. That is the important. He has removed his attachment both for the action and the fruit of action. In the previous verses we saw that. And that detachment or that what you call abandoning is what is the sannyasa. And that he can do it only in the mind. Because the list of actions which has been given in the earlier verses includes the bodily actions like blinking of the eye, the bodily functions, the eating, drinking, sleeping, excretion, etc. So those things will continue as long as the body is there. But at the same time, there is some sannyasa or renouncing of all actions which are mentioned by Krishna. After which, Sukham Vashi, he abides effortlessly, aste. Now, when after the renunciation is when the Sukham, the happiness which is there for him to abide. And how does he stay there? If the body is still functioning, all the growing, sickness, aging, weakness, and any, injury to the body, etc. All these things while continuing, how does he stay there as a happiness? That is the second line when he is mentioning Navadware Pure Dehi Na Eva Kurvan Na Karayan. It's a very clear statement if understood properly. Navadware Pure. 9 Dwara means, Nava means 9, Dwara means entrance or, gate. Pure means city. Dehi means it's a noun, one who is in the Deha. So Deha means body. Dehi means one who resides in the body. This is the time when Dehi is introduced by Krishna as an indweller in the body. And how does he stay there? Na kurvan na karayan. Not acting nor causing for action. Why does he have to mention about na karayan? Not causing for action. We will see that because the example Navadwara Pure, the 9-gated city, and the Dehi which is being mentioned here is the reason why he had to use the word Nakarayan. Neither it is the cause for the actions. This verse structurally introduces one of the most sought after and quoted illustrative analogy, Drishtanta, of the Navadwarapura, means nine-gated city, for the body and its relation to the Dehin, the embodied self. The Karma Yogi's path, which is mentioned in the 10th and 11th verse earlier, that to the direct description of Dehi's absolute non-doership, the Paramarthika teaching that underlies and complete the Karma Yoga instruction is what is the important aspect in this particular verse. The path has been defined in 10th and 11th. And after the path, how does the Karma Yogi continue to function in this world is a question. The Jnani, how does he function in this world? So, Sarva Karmani Manasa Sanyasya means it is the absolute condition. And Sukham Vashi Dehi. This is the subject here with the adjectives Sukham and Vashi. Means adverbial and qualification of the Dehi. And where does he say the location is given as the Navadwarapura? And there is a double negative principle which is attributed to the subject. Na eva kurvan na karayan. Now let us look into each of the words in the form of Nava Sarva Karmani. All actions, the entirety of actions without exception. Here the karma has to be taken in its entirety, in the sense that all activities of the body, not only the body, and it will extend in the next verse even to the cosmos, where the Atman and Brahman is identified. So, the philosophical nature in which it is mentioned is that the Dehi, renunciation is not selective to some of the actions. That is the embodied self being a witness or sakshi inside is not choosing to be part of the activity, and part of the activities are renounced, which means as the Atma or the self, Krishna is not mentioning that he is renouncing the actions in the waking alone. Because when we think about Manasa Sanyasya, by mind, when he is renouncing, he can do that only in the waking, because the mind is operating only in the waking. But the moment he used the word Sarva Karmani, there is a link which is very specific to this. In the waking, the mind is associating that I am dreaming, I am sleeping. This I am dreaming and I am sleeping of the waker should also be included in the Sarva Karmani. Because Pasyan Srinnu and all that seeing, eating, hearing, touching, then all those actions of the body, breathing, sleeping, blinking of eyes, everything has been mentioned in the list of the 10 activities earlier. Here when he mentioned Sarva Karmani Manasa Sanyasya, by renouncing using the mind, the entirety of the actions which are otherwise perceived as actions by the mind, not only the waking activities, but it should include the dream and deep sleep also. So, not only Kayika karma, Vachika karma, Mansika karma, Nitya karma, Naimittika karma, Kamya karma, all this listed in the Shastra. But one has to include Manasa Sanyasya, means by the mind, when he is renouncing. The Sanyasa here is from the Paramarthika point. The Tyaktva, which was used earlier, Yoga versus, here the Sanyasa, abandon, has got much deeper connotation. Not only karma phala, which is in the waking, but even the, so-called karma which is coming in the form of dream and deep sleep, which is not in our control. But when we identify that, saying that it is my dream, in my dream I saw something, or I experienced it like that, or I experienced nothing in my deep sleep. So Sarva Karmani is a total mental recognition based on the renunciation from the point of a Jnana Nishta Sannyasa. That is the most important aspect of this particular verse. After that, aste means abides. He remains. He remains where? With an effortless. No prayatna is required, or prayatna means effort. Required to abide. The word aste has got a special power in Sanskrit. It is from the same as dhatu, the sat, chit, ananda, or satyam, jnanam, anandam, satyam. That word satyam and sat. Thus, all of them are coming from this verbal root called as. As means to be. Here, aste is the most minimal possible way in which a verb can be used for being in the world. It is not even presence. I'll tell you. Stillness, we may think that is a state of abiding. No, not moving forward objects. That is pravritti. No pravritti. Presence is not withdrawn from the world, remaining in the city. That is the way in which the presence is being thought about. Even when you say non-action, not by not performing, simply being present. Even the thought that it is being present there, I am, that aste and asmi, coming from the same root, aham asmi, aham brahmasmi, that same asmi. That root is from the same verb as. But when it is in the sarva karmani manasa sanyasya, having abandoned everything by the mind and effortlessly being, can be misunderstood very easily. But it is not in the form of something existing somewhere. It is the very presence of existence, is what is indicated by the word aste. So when abides, Atman abides means Atman is separate and he is abiding somewhere, should not be thought when we are hearing this particular word. It's in Sanskrit we call it as the Atmanepada, not Asti. Asti is a Parasmaipada, means another. Atmanepada means itself, on the self-contained or self-related to oneself. It reinforces the reflexive, self-contained nature of the abidance. The Dehin abides not because he is asked to sit inside, but he abides for himself. Swarte. The abidance is in itself is a complete act, not requiring an object or a substratum, nor result or nothing. This is the verbal form of Swatmanishta, abiding in one's own being. See, unless we get into the details of dissecting a particular word, the intended meaning of a verse can be superficial. We will not be able to delve deep into it and understand the intent of the author. So when he says that all activities that have been renounced, which includes waking, dream and deep sleep and all the activities, and being without any intention or any demand or any requirement. We can compare it to experiential correlation with the Sakshi. The Sakshi does not move, does not act, does not seek, or it just presence is what is indicated in the case of the Sakshi. But there is an apparent duality. What it witnesses and what it is. But here, when it is a aste, the word aste is used, there is no even a witnessing activity which is going on. It purely abides as awareness within which all sarva karmani, all activities which are listed seems to be happening. When this is done, sukham vashi. Sukham means happiness. Vashi is a word which is, the meaning is very difficult to say in English, but you can say is as master of oneself or a self-controlled one. Each one has got a different connotation in English. But in Sanskrit, when we say vashi, the equivalent in English becomes very difficult for expression. It is not a complete mastery, or it's being a master of oneself or self-controlled one. All these things will fall short in intending the meaning of vashi. Sukham vashi. So therefore, when it is qualifying the word sukham or happiness, it is not a self-controlled happiness or master of one's own happiness. A happiness and the one who is experiencing or in whose awareness that happiness is there are not two separate. It is the very nature of happiness, enjoy in tune with the happiness. And when it is say the aste, because the three words are connected. Sukham, Vashi, Aste, Vashi. All the three words have to be connected. So when the individual, when he renounces the individuality and the connectedness to the waking dream and deep sleep, his presence in himself or itself as happiness is not an adjective or a qualification or anything which we can correlate between a subject and its qualifications. It is the very nature of it, swabhava, swarte, swabhava, its own swabhava, which will come in the next verse, which will be much more deep for us to explain. So one who has brought the entire individuality of the body-mind complex under the mastery of Atmajnana in the city of 9 gates. Now, the city of 9 gates are the physical body with which we identify ourselves as. So he has brought the entire body-mind complex under the mastery of Atmajnana, means when he is abiding himself as the pure witness and identifying with the existence as happiness. He sees the body, the deha. Now he is called the dehi, one remain performing through the body. Because we identify ourselves with our body. That's why this example is being used. There are 5 organs of perception. Sound, sight, touch, smell, etc. And there are 5 karmendriyas, organs of action, like limbs, vision, the karmendriyas, walking, touching, and all those things. Then, so 5 plus 5, 10. Mana, buddhi, ahankara. That is that mind, the intellect and ahankara. All these are under the vasha, mean in the control of the dehin. But this is not a forceful suppression with the sakshi, or the atma is not doing any forceful suppression of the karmendriya or the jnanendriya. It is a recognition which the dehin knows himself being the atman or the self or the witness or the consciousness. So the entire apparatus of the city operates. He is a witness to it. So the details of the Navadwarapura or the 9-gated city of the body is explained as Shankaracharya as the 2 eyes are the 2 aperture for the vision, 2 ears for the Karnadwara, 2 nostrils, so 6, mouth, 7. Genital. 8. Anus. Then 9. There are total 9 gates. In this 9 gate is through which the body is contacting with the world outside. Now, comparing this with a city, in a city has a king or Raja or a Prabhu who dwells within. In the body, the Atman or the Dehin. The gate through which commerce flows in and out is in the city. Same way, the 9 openings through which perception, action, etc. occur in the body. The king neither builds a city. Atman is not the creator of the body, nor inhibits its walls as walls. It is not limiting itself in the walls. Atman is not identified with the body, but abides within as a sovereign. Atman abides as a pure witness sovereign. The city's activities are not the king's actions. Same way, the body's actions are not Atman's action. That is why the 9-gated city is compared to the body. The philosophical metaphor of profound nature. The king sitting in his palace while the city's merchants, trade, soldiers, guards, citizens go around the business, etc. He does not personally carry anything in their activity. The city functions, but the king simply abides, aste, as its sovereign witness. So too the Dehin, in the 9-gated city of the body, which is bustling with activities, perpetual and active through the 9 gates of the, mentioned above. The Atman or the Dehin, Sukham Aste, abides effortlessly within itself as a pure witness. Now the word Dehi, Dih is the root from which Dih means to build up. Or to smear. It's a singular masculine word meaning the embodied one. Dehi means the one who has a body, the owner of the body. So the Dehi, the embodied one, is technically the one who has a body, one for whom the Deha is an attribute or the body is an attribute. This grammatical structure encodes the Advaitic distinction that Dehi is not the body or the one who is residing in the body is different from the body. The Dehi has a body or he has the body for himself, but is himself stands separate, Tebyo Vilakshana Tachi, as a separate within. How does he stay there in that body? Na eva kurvan na karayan. The Dehi does not act at all. The Atma or the self is not the doer of the activities. But we always identified, I am seeing, I am touching, I am doing, I am sleeping, I am. All those activities we are thinking that we are doing. The Dehi does not act at all. This is the akartrutva, non-doership of the self or the intelligence or the consciousness. The absolute non-doership of the pure Atma. na eva, that the negation, emphatic negation with the word eva, leaves no room for qualification for the Dehi to act at all, in any sense, at any level. That is why na eva is used. This resumes and deepens the Tattvajnani, Tattvavit declaration which we studied in the 8th verse. Na eva kinchit karomi, which we studied in the 8th verse. Here it is mentioned as, there it was mentioned as the first person, karomi, means I am not doing anything. Here it is mentioned as na eva kurvan na karayan. But when they mention the karayan, we always have thought that Atma or the self is the reason which is prompting the body to function. And when Atma leaves the body becomes inert and lifeless and dead. So is not the Atma or the self or the witness or the consciousness the cause for the body to function? A very serious question which we always have to think about it. The causative word, karayan, with the negative negation, na karayan, is not causing to act or not making the individual organs to act. Meaning, it is not causing to act as a direct, what you call, activity of itself, nor making it to happen by being the presence, being in his own presence. Sometimes there are two ways in which actions can take place. When something is being done by us, we are becoming the causal person for the activity. Suppose if I am pushing something, the movement of the object is caused by me. That is what is called the causing to act. Sometimes the presence of the sun is making everybody to function in the daylight. But the sun is not directly making any contribution for the functioning of the actions which are happening in the earth. So making to have things happening is also a causal form. Karayan comes under this way. So there are two type of ways in which actions can be prompted. So both are being negated here into extending the deep non-doership and the causal agency by the Atma. This is a philosophically crucial and marks significant deepening of this particular teaching, that the verse negates both the levels of agency. The direct doership, na kurvan, the Dehi does not act himself. That means that the Atma or the witness or the consciousness is doing something. No. Nor the causal doership, na karayan. It is neither making others to act or being a cause for others to act. So both are negated in this one. So the causative karayan, causing to act, addresses a potential objection. If Atman does not directly act, does it not at least be a cause for the body, mind and etc. to act, which I asked, when the Atma leaves the body, we feel that it is in its presence the body is functioning, and when Atma leaves the body becomes inert and this thing. So is it not at least the cause for the body to act? Does it not in motion machinery of the dynamic, the entire body to act? Shankaracharya's answer is na karayan, means absolutely no. The Atman is neither the Karta, direct agent, nor a Niyanta, a controlling agent. The body-mind complex operates through the autonomous power of the Prakriti. Guna guneshu vartande idi dharayan. The gunas operating in the guna, upon the gunas. In the third chapter, 27th verse, we studied that Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha. It is the nature of the body, nature of the sense organs, nature of the, the organs of action to function. Atma is neither a direct agent, karta, nor a niyanta, a controlling agent for action. The Dehin does not even initiate any process. It is a pure witness of the process that is entirely happening as a swabhava of the Prakriti. Swabhava means nature. It is the nature of the Prakriti. Now, is Prakriti separate from the Atma? We will discuss that in the next verse. This dual negation, na kurvan na karayan, is the most radical statement of Atman's asangatva, means non-attachment, or, attachment. Yes, non-attachment is the word which can be used. Asangatva. It is going beyond the eighth verse where it said, na eva kinchit karomi. That is a statement by as if somebody is denying that, the activity. But here, it is a total negation of all agencies, either causal or direct. So when we look into this, the body and the Atmans, we have to look it from the type of body also we are holding. Sthula Sharira, gross body, which is similar to the gates and the walls of the city. The Sukshma Sharira is the administrative or controlling the commerce, etc. of Mana, Buddhi, Ahankara, etc. The Karna Sharira is the avidya caused city to appear. That has caused. But Atman is beyond all these three, beyond all the three bodies. Vilakshana from the city's administration. This verse as a Paramarthika Prakarana by Shankaracharya is very important for us to understand. It's a clear transition from the Vyavaharika teaching of Karma Yoga, which we have been studying till now. Now he is moving into a Paramarthika teaching from the Atman or the witness consciousness standpoint of absolute non-doership. In the verse 1 to 6, the path of Karma Yoga and Sannyasa was given. 7 to 9, where the Jivan Mukta's recognition, na lipyate, na karomi, etc. was discussed. In 10 and 11th verse, the Vyavaharika way in which a karma yogis practice Brahmani Adyasya Sangam Tyaktva Phalam Tyaktva etc. was discussed. In this verse, the Paramarthika or the absolute non-doership of the Dehi, Atman, in the body, Navadwarapuri, was the given the Drishtanta. In the following verses from 14 to 21st, a Paramarthika level of deepening akartrutva nakartrutvam nakaranani karmani will be discussed, and in the culmination 4 verses of 22 to 26, Brahma Nirvana or the peace identical with the state of Brahman or the Sukham or the happiness as the nature of witness consciousness or the consciousness, pure consciousness, is being explained by Krishna. Therefore, this verse 13 is a pivotal verse from the practical karma yogins to the metaphysical form of karma yogins achievement towards the jnani's recognition or establishing the ontological ground from Dehi as a karta that makes both the karma yogis and jnana yogis point where they merge. The karma yogi never remains as a karma yogi, he becomes a jnani. We discussed about the manasa sannyasya, the mental renouncing of all activities, which includes activities of the waker, activities of the dreamer, and activity of the deep sleeper. There is no separate waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper from the point of view of the Atma or the Sakshi. They are all appearances in consciousness only. As a nature, consciousness observes these appearances in consciousness. There is not separate body, no separate happenings, no separate enjoyer, no separate doer, nothing. They all are appearances. Only when this is understood, the na kurvan na karayan, neither is a direct authorship nor a causal authorship. What we can see as the 2 aspects of the activity. So, when we have to sum up this verse, even though the example of the Navadwarapuram was used for the body to be identified, the important aspects of this verse is the Dehi, the Atma or the consciousness within the body, is na kurvan na karayan. He is neither the direct doer nor the causal doership. But that can be achieved only when manasa sanyasya, the detachment of through the mind and intellect, antakarana. What? That I am the body. The verse is most important from both metaphysical point of view as well as a verse which can be highly effective for Shravana Manana Nididhyasana to achieve in the state of Brahma Nirvana. Therefore, one should understand that na kurvan na karayan should not be seen as a result of a sannyasa by abandoning that. But it is the nature in which it is functioning. It is not a effect of a mental process. In the mental process of renunciation of identification of the body as a waker, dreamer and deep sleeper, we realize it is not that we achieve. It is not an effort and a result, but it is a recognition that there is no doership, either direct or causal doership for us in relationship with the body. That is the most important aspect. There is a long commentary by Shankaracharya. I will read sentence by sentence and explain it. Its explanation has been already done, but still. Sarvakarmani sanyasya paritijya nityam naimittikam kamyam pratishiddham cha tani sarvani karmani manasa means viveka buddhya karmadau akarma sandarshanena santyajyat ityartha aste tishtati sukham. Meaning, having renounced all actions, that is, all actions such as obligatory, occasional, desire-motivated, prohibited by the mind, the inner instrument, through discriminative knowledge, by seeing non-action in action. That is important. By seeing non-action in action, he gives them up and remains or abides happily. त्यक्तवाङ्मनकाय चेष्टा निरायसः प्रसन्नचित्तः आत्मनः अन्यत्र निवृत्त सर्वबाह्य प्रयोजन इति सुखम आस्ते इत्युच्यते. Having given up activities such as speech, mind, body, being effortless, with a sincere mind and having withdrawn from all external purposes other than the self, thus it is said to be abiding happily. Vashi jitendriya ityartha. Vashi means he is controlled, that is one who has mastered the senses. It is through the senses that all contact is being made. So what is controlling, as per Shankaracharya, is jitendriya, when he controls the senses. Kva katam aste iti aha navadwara pure. Where does he abide? In the city of 9 gates. So he is then listing the sapta shirshyani atmanaha upalabdhi dwarani avak dve motra purishwa sargathe taihi dware navadwaram puram uchyate shariram puram iva puram atma eka swamikam tadartha prayojanescha indriya mano buddhi vishayaihi aneka phala vitnyasya utpadagaihi paurairiva adishtitam. He is listing that 9, this thing here. Tasmin navadwara pure dehi sarvam karman sanyasya aste kim visheshanena. Sarvo hi dehi sanyasi asanyasi va dehe va eva aste. Tatra anarthakam visheshanam iti. In the city of 9-gated embodied one, having renounced all actions abides. What is the point of this qualification? for every embodied being, whether renunciate or not, abides in the body, thus the qualification would be meaningless. Uchyate, it is said that yastu atnyaha dehi dehendriya sangada matra atmadarshi va sarvopi gahe bhumau asane va aste iti manyate. It is said that one who is ignorant, identifying the self with the more aggregate of the body and the senses, thinks, I sit in the house, I am on the ground, I am on the car, I am on the seat, etc. Na hi dehamatra atmadarshinaha gehe iva dehe ase iti pratyaya sambhavati. One who sees the body itself as the self, the notion that abide in the body in the house cannot arise. Dehadi sangata tavyat atirikta atmadarshinastu dehe ase iti pratyaya utpadyate. But for one who sees the self as distinct from the body aggregate, the cognition, I abide in the body, is appropriate. Parakarmanam cha parasmin atmani avidyaya adhyaropidanam vidya viveka jnanena manasa sannyasa utpadyate. And the renunciation by the body-mind through the indiscriminate knowledge of actions belonging to others, which are superimposed upon the self through ignorance, is indeed reasonable. Utpanna viveka jnanasya sarva karma sannyasinoho api gehe iva dehe eva navadvara pure asanam prarabdha karma phala samskara sheshanutritya dehe eva vishesha vijnane utpadyate. Even for one who has attained the discriminative knowledge and renounced all actions, his remaining in the body, like in a house in the city or the 9 gates, continues due to the residual effects of the prarabdha karma, from which arises the particular experiences of the body. Dehe eva aste iti asteva visheshana phalam vidvat vidpratyaya Bekshavekchatva. Thus the statement he abides in the body does not have the significance because it depends upon the difference in understanding between the knower and the ignorant. Yadyapi karyakaranam api avidya atmani adhyaropitani sannyasaste ityuktam tatapi atma samavayitu kartrutvam karayitram cha syat iti ashankya aha. Although it has been said that the actions of the body and the instruments are superimposed upon the self through the ignorance and are renounced, still one may suspect the agency, the causership, might inhere in the self itself. Anticipating this, it is said that Naiva Kurvan Swayam Nacha Karyakaranani Karayan Kriyasu Pravartayan. So anticipating that, he is negating that he neither acts himself nor causes the instruments to act or negates the actions. Then the Purvapakshi is asking, Kim yat tat kartrutvam karayitvam cha dehinaha swatma samavayi sat sannyasat na sambhavati yatha gacchanto gati gamana vyapara parityage na syat tadvat kim va swataha va eva atmani na asti iti. This is the question by the Purva Pakshi, or the one who is making an objection. What is then? Is it the agency or the causership through the inherent in the self of the embodied being do not persist after renunciation? Just as a notion does not remain when the act of going ceases, or is it that they do not belong to the self by the nature at all? atra uchyate na asti atmanaha svata kartrutvam karayitvam cha. It is replied that the agency and the causership do not belong to the self by its own nature. Uktam hi avikaryoyam achyuchate. In the second chapter, 25th verse. Sarirastopi na karoti na lipyate. In the 13th verse chapter it will come. So that is that the self is declared unchanging as per the 25th verse of the second chapter. Though dwelling in the body, it neither acts nor it is stained. In the Kshetrajña or Vivag Jnanam, the 13th chapter it will come. In the Brihadaranya Upanishad, it says that Dhyayativa Lelayativa iti. That is that it appears as though thinking, Dhyayativa. Lelayativa, as though moving. It will appear it is thinking, doing, acting, all those things are appearances in the Atma. Why? It is being explained in the next verse. Na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya srajati prabhu. Na karma phala samyogam swabhavastu pravartate. The Prabhu does not create for the world, not doership actions or union of any action with the fruit, etc. Nature operates. Swabhavastu pravartate. We will see this. Next verse is a very important verse. It may take more than one day for this one. Let us see if we can complete in tomorrow's class. The 14th verse. So listen to the 13th verse and again come before for the next verse, tomorrow's class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. Dhanyawad.
Yes, thank you very much, Binduji, and Pranam. I was a bit late. The chat and hand raising are available. If you have any follow-up questions, please come up.
Namaste Venkat.
It has been pretty deep session today. Couple of follow-up questions on this. This appearance and binding, binding to that appearance has caused that identification. Somewhere the binding happened. And there is an attempt with, Chitta Shuddhi, Sattva Shuddhi, and this is like a Nakurvan, Nakaryan. All that is being now utilized to sort of asangoham panapana. That whatever, removing that binding, that also is eventually, is again falls off. There's nobody to bind, nobody to take off.
Right.
But that, when did that binding that happen in first place? Or it has never happened, what is this, that binding that led to this whole teaching altogether to knock it off?
It never happened. It can never happen because Atma is Nitya Shuddha. Atma is ever pure. The consciousness, the existence and consciousness can never be affected by anything else. In it, the swabhava or the nature, the consciousness, when objectifies, that is the nature of consciousness, to objectify. Nothing can be done about it. When it objectifies, the objects appear in consciousness itself. But when we forget, when we see the object and forget we are not the consciousness who is objectifying and seeing the objects in us ourselves, we become separate from the consciousness. We forget our nature is consciousness. A simple example is when we dream, the dreamer appears and the dreaming world appears. It is our own projection as the mental projection of the dream or the dreamer and the dream world. The waker forgot, or the mind of the waker forgot that it is waker and identified with the dreamer. And the dream and the dream world became a reality as long as it identifies with the dreamer. The moment it identifies back with the waker, oh, I am the waker, the dream stops. But the waker itself is a similar experience of the consciousness. When we identify that we are not the waker, we are the consciousness, the waking will stop. But what happens is that waking, dream and deep sleep, which all the three are in the consciousness, will continue as a objectification process for the consciousness. But the identification with the waker, dreamer and the deep sleeper will not happen. That will become, that is the state when it is called a witnessing aspect will take place. And this is an ongoing process. It is the same consciousness which I am witnessing as Bindu with the body, mind and complex as the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper. Is the same consciousness which is now identifying yourself as Venkat and your body, your waking, your dreaming, etc. Or Prakash, or Revati, or anybody for that matter. Or the whole consciousness in the world. It is the waker and the waking world, dreamer and the dream world, the deep sleeper and the deep sleep world. All the three are of one consciousness. There is only one universal consciousness. We cannot call even universal because there is no universal that universal. In it, the way the Venkat, the Prasad or the Prakash or the window or Revati or anybody for that matter appears. The example given is that in the water when different waves appear, the water has not become the wave, but the waves appear. And each wave can see other waves, but they are all but the same ocean or the same water, which is appearing as multiple. When you identify with one wave, you become Venkat, I become Bindu, Prakash becomes Prakash. But The reality is that it is what is being experienced by you as Venkat, me as Bindu, you as Prakash or Revati or anybody is same consciousness. We are not able to remove our attachment to the process of the operation of the antakarana, the mind or the intellect. Therefore, we get entangled in the limited individuality. When we remove or renounce, that is why the sannyasaste, the word used. When we renounce our identification, even with the process of thinking, mending, or discriminative aspect of the intellectual scrutiny into the process of consciousness, the process has to end to abide in the pure consciousness. The moment the process takes place, it is the nature of the consciousness to be in the process whereby the mind and the intellect and that bodies of the waker, dream and deep sleep appears in it. When the process stops is the state of renunciation. And in that renunciation, we abide in the state of pure happiness. It happens naturally for us in our deep sleep, where the mind, intellect, etc., everything stops the processing. We abide in our consciousness because there is nothing else in there, so we know nothing. That is why they say I knew nothing in the deep sleep, because there is no second one, na dudiyam asti. But what happens is this process of renunciation should happen in waking for us to know the reality of our truth, our consciousness. If it happens naturally in deep sleep, we are not becoming jnanis or we are not getting enlightened. That has to happen in the waking. Because waking is the place where the controlling of the Navadwarapura or the identification with the body as Bindu or Venkat is happening. So this process of projection of the mind and the intellect with the identification with the body, mind, intellect as a waker, dreamer, deep sleeper is predominantly by the waker. And the waker says, I am the waker, I am dreaming, I am deep sleeping. This process has to stop. That is why na kurvan na karayan, the words are used. Neither the direct doer nor the causal doer. And that renunciation, when it takes place, there is neither waker, dreamer or deep sleeper. I am the pure awareness. And this process is my svabhava, which will be discussed in detail in tomorrow's lecture. Tomorrow's verse is only talking about that. That svabhava or the nature in which the consciousness, it is the nature of the consciousness to project. And in the projection, when the consciousness itself identifies with the mind and the intellect, we become the individual bodies. That can be reversed while in the waker's body when we allow the mind and the intellect to renounce with the identification process which is called the projection. That is when the realization will take place.
Yes, Binduji. I think it's pretty solid and important, very comprehensive answer you gave it. I think I can go through it one more time. I try to, digest this. Basically, it's the nature of consciousness to project, even to bind, and even to remove.
Yes.
All that is stronger in waking, because waking is where the binding is stronger. In dream, it is weaker, because the ego goes weaker in dream
Yeah.
and stronger in the waking. So this is the place where it has to be fixed. Now, the nature of consciousness is all of this. That's all of this. I don't know, display, call it, or mischief,
Mm.
leading to all this. That's awesome.
Yeah, we discussed this in some different way when we discussed Mandukya, Esha Nishasya Swabhavaha.
Yeah, that is Swabhava is given a larger domain, but it is getting,
Yes.
the one who is seeker after the seeker also is to be drawn onto the seeker. So that is difficult to be done unless you bring the seeker to the point of this, infliction, and recognize it. That's too important to let go that final thread. That understanding needs to be done. Hence, further, this binding get dissolved completely. This is very useful, Binduji. I think we look forward to the next set of verses. I think look like it is a beginning. It is opening to the entirety later.
Right. Thank you, Ingrid.
Thanks, Binduji.
Thank you, Ingrid. Namaste, Revati.
Pranam, Binduji. The Dehe Aste, it's when the Sakshi Bhava is also not there, then it is pure Chit and Ananda. He says there, Vashi of Ananda,
yes.
He says.
That's right.
We can understand like that. It's correct, no?
Yeah, it's correct. That's why I told Venkat, no? It's in the waking we have to do this. The problem, problem is because in the waking we are identifying with the Deha, with the body. Body means all the mind body complex, which we are identifying that I am the body mind complex. But I am not the body mind, because the body mind complex is an object for me too. I am the knower of my body, my mind, my thoughts, my feelings, my inject. Everything is known to me. So I cannot be the body mind, the Deha Dehi, or the Drid Drishya Viveka, that the knower and the known. That is what we have to practice it by using the word neti neti. What is known is not I am. Neti, non iti. I am not the known. I am the knower always. That process only will help us to remove the renunciation which is taught, sannyasaste. That sannyasa can be done only through the process of neti neti.
Yes. Yes, and it's from here the karma yogi, and he becomes now jnananist. So for both of them, the way is here, same here.
Yes.
From here.
Because when the karma yogin does the sannyasa of the deha, of the nakurvan nakarayan, that karma yogi has no more samarpana to be done, because nakurvan nakarayan state is achieved, means neither the doer nor the causal doer. Then what is for him to surrender to the Ishvara or the Brahman? There is nothing more left.
Yes. Yes, the Dvaita is already renunciated.
Yes.
Thank you, Binduji.
Thank you, Revati.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We'll meet tomorrow, and tomorrow's verse is a very important verse. Prakash, can we wind up the
Yes,
room?
Bendoji. So, yes. So thanks everyone for coming. In the chat, I've pasted the links for the YouTube channel and the Apple and Spotify links where you can access these talks. For the Shravana Manana of this particular talk, it's better to come to Clubhouse because the next one is tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. IST. As always, thank you, Bindoji, and for everyone who attended. Over to you to close the room.
Thank you all. Thank you, Venkat, Prakash, Revati, for being there in the panel. And thank you for listening to this for the full lecture. We'll continue our aspect of how the nature of in consciousness does the projection to see the individuality of what we identified as the individuals which we are. That will be discussed from the tomorrow's words onward. See you all tomorrow, same time. Very good. Namaste.
Very good. Good.